Welcome to the video, Beyond the $100,000 Cash Barrier. First, we will explore why hitting $100,000 in cash is a pivotal moment for high earners and disciplined savers. Then, we will outline a practical framework for shifting from saving to strategic wealth deployment once tax-advantaged accounts are maxed. Finally, we will cover how to define your emergency fund, assign purpose to cash, move excess capital into a taxable brokerage, and avoid the hidden costs of hoarding cash. In this agenda, we will begin with the pivotal mindset shift at $100,000 cash. Next, we will define a robust emergency fund. Then, we will assign specific purposes to remaining cash. After that, we will cover how and why to invest excess capital through a taxable brokerage. We will also compare compounding versus liquidity, and finish with an action plan and short quizzes. Before we start, this content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. Circumstances vary widely, and you should consult a licensed professional who understands your specific situation before taking action. At the $100,000 cash level, many savers continue to pile into high-yield savings accounts for comfort. However, past this level, the hidden cost of security appears as long-run underperformance versus inflation and market returns. Therefore, once tax-advantaged accounts are maxed, the focus should pivot from preserving cash to systematically deploying excess capital into diversified investments. First, define your emergency fund. For conservative individuals or those with job insecurity, a doubled emergency fund of 12 to 18 months of essential expenses is prudent. For many high earners, this often equals approximately $50,000 to $70,000. Keep this reserve in the highest-rate high-yield savings account you can find. Additionally, consider placing a portion in your brokerage settlement fund for comparable yield with immediate access to invest, which avoids frequent bank switching. Review and adjust your emergency fund annually or after major life changes, such as a new mortgage, child, or career move. Next, assign a clear purpose to any cash beyond the emergency fund. Identify short-term goals such as vehicle replacement, home projects, or upcoming tuitions. If the goal falls within 1 to 3 years, keep the funds in cash equivalents to safeguard against market volatility. You can use treasury bills, short-term treasuries, or high-quality money market funds to potentially improve yield while maintaining liquidity. Create separate goal buckets and automate contributions. Avoid mixing emergency funds with goal-specific funds to prevent accidental overspending or underfunding. Now, let us turn to a practical action plan. First, confirm your emergency fund target by calculating 12 to 18 months of essential expenses. Second, place the emergency fund in a top high-yield savings account or a brokerage settlement fund to preserve yield and instant deployability. Third, list your 1 to 3 year goals and create distinct savings buckets. Fourth, open or optimize a taxable brokerage account with a reputable low-cost broker. Fifth, select broad, low-cost index funds such as Total Market or S&P 500 trackers. Sixth, automate contributions on a weekly or monthly schedule to dollar-cost average. Seventh, document an investment policy statement with target allocations, rebalancing thresholds, and an annual review date. This flowchart illustrates a decision tree for allocating cash after reaching $100,000. It starts with confirming whether tax-advantaged accounts are maxed. If not, the path prioritizes maxing those accounts. If they are, the next step sets a 12 to 18-month emergency fund in a high-yield savings account or settlement fund. The diagram then branches to assess whether you have short-term goals within 1 to 3 years, allocating those funds to cash equivalents. Finally, it directs remaining capital to a taxable brokerage invested in low-cost index funds, with a feedback loop to automate contributions, rebalance, and review annually. This table compares high-yield savings accounts with taxable brokerage accounts. Liquidity in hySA is instant, while brokerage liquidity depends on whether funds are in settlement cash or invested. Trade proceeds typically settle in 2 days. Yield potential is generally higher in a brokerage due to exposure to equities and bonds. Volatility is minimal in hySA, but can be significant in the market, which makes hySA better for short-term needs. Inflation protection is weak in cash but stronger with diversified investments over time. Automation options exist in both, but brokerage accounts allow dollar-cost averaging and dividend reinvestment to power compounding. Here we contrast liquidity and growth. Liquidity provides immediate access for emergencies and predictable value suited for near-term goals. Growth provides compounding over long periods, better inflation protection, and is appropriate for goals beyond 5 years. The key is matching the asset to the time horizon and risk tolerance, rather than maximizing one dimension at the expense of the other. Now, move excess capital into a taxable brokerage account. Use broad, low-cost index funds such as total market or S&P 500 trackers. For tax efficiency, consider ETFs, which tend to distribute fewer capital gains than mutual funds. Automate contributions with a weekly or monthly dollar-cost averaging schedule to reduce timing risk. Rebalance primarily using new contributions to minimize taxable events. Maintain a written investment policy statement to guide decisions during volatility. Consider tax loss harvesting where appropriate, mindful of wash sale rules. This pie chart offers a sample allocation. After surpassing $100,000 in cash, 60% is held in an emergency fund, 15% is earmarked for short-term goals, and the remaining 25% is directed to taxable investing. This is an example, not a prescription. Viewers should adjust the percentages based on job stability, fixed expenses, and personal risk tolerance. Furthermore, compounding requires time in the market, not just yield in a savings account. Comfort from hySA balances can conceal the opportunity cost of not investing. And one practical approach is to use your brokerage settlement fund for cash-like yield while maintaining instant investability. Once your financial foundation is secure, redirect focus from preservation to growth. Maintain discipline during volatility, recognizing that your written plan and time horizon matter more than short-term market movements. Quiz time. The question is, how large should a conservative emergency fund typically be after hitting $100,000 cash? The options are 1. 3 to 6 months of expenses, 2. 6 to 9 months of expenses, 3. 12 to 18 months of expenses, 4. 24 plus months of expenses. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is 12 to 18 months of expenses. This larger buffer is appropriate for conservative savers or people facing higher employment risk, and it allows you to keep investing consistently without panic if income is interrupted. Here is the second quiz question. After the emergency fund and short-term goals are funded, where should excess capital generally go? The options are 1. Remain in a high-yield savings account for maximum safety, 2. Move to a taxable brokerage invested in low-cost index funds, 3. Buy individual speculative stocks only, or 4. Spend it to reduce cash drag. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is to move excess capital to a taxable brokerage invested in low-cost, diversified index funds. This aligns long-horizon dollars with higher expected returns and combats inflation, leveraging compounding to build wealth. Let us recap the key points. 1. $100,000 in cash marks a pivot from safety-first saving to deliberate capital deployment for growth. 2. Maintain a 12 to 18-month emergency fund in a high-yield account or settlement fund. 3. Assign remaining cash to specific goals within 1 to 3 years. 4. Direct excess capital into a taxable brokerage using broad, low-cost index funds. 5. Automate contributions, rebalance when needed, and review annually to maintain discipline. 6. Avoid hoarding cash, because compounding requires time in the market. This timeline depicts the journey from safety to strategy. The foundation phase covers building an adequate emergency fund and maxing tax-advantaged accounts. The deployment phase focuses on assigning goals and opening a taxable brokerage. The optimization phase highlights automating contributions, rebalancing periodically, and conducting an annual review. In summary, reaching $100,000 in cash is a meaningful milestone and a call to optimize. First, secure liquidity with a robust emergency fund. Next, deploy excess cash into diversified, low-cost index funds through a taxable account. Use rules and automation to remain consistent across market cycles. Over decades, disciplined compounding outperforms attempts to time the market. Thank you for watching. If you found this useful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on smart wealth building. I would love to hear your approach to balancing liquidity and growth, so share your thoughts and strategies in the comments.